everyone. Okay, so I'll get this out of the way from jump, but one thing I really liked about this chapter, oddly, is the fact that Bakugo's very existence is kind of what's throwing All For One off his game during this entire fight. Like, it's not even anything to do with personality, because from what little we have seen of the second user, Kudo and Bakugo, they pretty much are vastly different in terms of personality and temperament. But at the same time, but both Bakugo and Kudo, they pretty much do share one very similar trait, which is the will and the drive, which is they possess the same will and drive in order to oppose All For One. It is that very thing that is legitimately shaking All For One off, because what pisses All For One off more than anything else is someone who basically possesses the will to fight. And someone whose will he cannot break. Made even worse, that All For One does have a particular hatred for Kudo, as his betrayal, you could say, kind of started this whole cycle. And in that sense, it just goes to show even more that Bakugo is absolutely the worst match for All For One, because against Bakugo, All For One is being forced to face those, is not only getting so frustrated, but at the fact that he just cannot break Bakugo's will. But it's just the fact that he has been placed into this situation to begin with, that he's forced to face someone again whose will he just cannot break. Bakugo is that person that he just cannot emotionally or physically break. He's the perfect, like, Bakugo in a sense is the perfect opposition in order to face All For One. And I guarantee you, if things continue as they are, All For One is likely to slip up in some shape or form. And assuming that All Might did still in some way weaken All For One, then that's only going to make things worse for him at this point, because it's all a matter of endurance and who can hold out the longest. And while these kind of circumstances do make me fear for what's going to happen to Bakugo, I don't happen to Bakugo as well. Like, because don't get it twisted, Bakugo is pushing his body and quirk to their limits, but I still think All For One is going to be coming out of this worse for wear, but by the end of the fight, assuming Bakugo doesn't defeat him. But even if that isn't the case, again, like, if you take everything that's happened to All For One's been through during this whole war, then yeah, I think Bakugo's just going to make things even worse for All For One right now. Now, with that said, I should probably talk more about whether or not I think Bakugo is going to actually die. And honestly, this is where things get a little muddled, I guess, because the thing is, all the pieces are kind of in place for that to happen, from how Bakugo describes his body overloading with power, right down to even the moment with his parents, which was actually a very beautiful moment. I gotta say, like that moment with Bakugo's mom saying our boy is smiling right now, he's facing down his enemy. That was a legitimately beautiful scene, just showing how much his parents do believe in him. But the one thing that has me saying like Bakugo's death is probably not gonna happen is Ed Shot's words saying Bakugo's on the verge of grasping something essential, pretty much kind of alluding to his quirk awakening or Bakugo gaining some new ability. So in that regard, no, I don't think he's going to die, even if this new ability he awakens is going to have its drawbacks. I still don't think those drawbacks are going to be severe enough to kill him at this point. Although, one thing I am worried about is just how severely damaged his body's going to be when the dust settles on this war, because that always seems to be the one thing that Horikoshi always tries to impose, even despite how powerful someone's become, even despite how overpowered a lot of people have become nowadays in the series, is that there's always going to be some kind of drawback to it. Which, yeah, I know I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but I'm gonna keep asking this goddamn question until I get an answer to it. Where the fuck is Genius? Like, honestly, seriously, I thought we would have gotten, at the very least, a hint when we were going through the rundown of, like, everything going on, but nope, still nothing. And yeah, I'm sorry, I keep going back to this one thing, but it's just kind of the biggest unsolved mystery right now, as now that Horikoshi just hasn't addressed, and the only two scenarios I assume I can assume at this point is he's going to off-screen kill Genius like he did with Midnight and only report him as dead when the war's over, or again saving his return for a very specific moment, because that does also seem to be Horikoshi's favorite narrative trick with Genius, is bringing him back when he's needed the most. But it's like you could break yourself out of that narrative trick a bit. I'm just saying, Horikoshi, like just give us something with Genius, anything to say that whether or not he's dead or alive. Like, I kind of need that, honestly. But okay, we also catch up a little bit with Izuku in the chapter, and not a whole lot to talk about there, other than seeing Izuku's inner monologue and him recognizing that, yeah, he's only got one shot now with Gear Shift. But honestly, if history is any indicator, there's only two scenarios I see working out with that, which is that even when Izuku uses it, Shigaraki is likely to just absorb the damage or brush it off. But if Horikoshi is smart enough about it, there will be a way Izuku can use Gear Shift to actually end the battle. But even in that scenario, I don't think it'll be used like that until after we properly establish the new hierarchy and Shigaraki making clear that All For One cannot take his body anymore, which in itself is the worst case scenario, because that would probably mean Shigaraki would probably then kill All For One himself, assuming Bakugo doesn't, and then absorb the rest of the All For One quirk into himself, which would give him full power over All For One. And that itself is only going to complicate the matter of when to use Gear Shift again, because right now, like, again, that is the ace up the hole. But if the scenario plays out like I think it will, like, then yeah, how exactly is that gonna? Then Gear Shift is gonna need to be used even more strategically. But I feel like it is. I feel like it is a mistake, honestly, to put all the chips into this one technique when trying to consider the variables, honestly. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll, push the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime signing off. Later, everyone.